Welcome back. My name is Corinne Phillips, and today is Philosophy Friday on Fresh Pea Cooks. So sometimes we get together and we talk about things that are not food related, not farming related, and once a month or so on Friday, I like to pose a question or talk about something that I've been thinking of. Well, this week's slightly different. I'm answering a subscriber's question. And this was written in by a young man, Connor, and he said, would you consider doing a Philosophy Friday on heartbreak? I thought it was a brilliant idea, as I'm kind of in the middle of a heartbreak myself. But this isn't about me or my story, but this is just as much of a reminder to myself as it is sharing a perspective with you. And like always on Philosophy Fridays, I generally try to be very hands-off in the comments, but I want to encourage each of you to share your story, your thoughts, your beliefs below, because that's definitely the best part of my week, is reading comments and experiences that you've all had. Earlier today, I'd prepared a script, and I had been thinking about this all week and jotting down notes here and there and just different things that I wanted to talk about. And I left it at the car, which is maybe a quarter of a mile up the river. So I'm just going to freeform it, and a lot of times these are the best videos anyway. So I do want to start by reading you a poem because it's very relevant to heartbreak. It's very relevant to the perspective that I'm about to share. This poem is by Rumi, and it's called The Guest House, and I'm going to read it just because I haven't memorized it. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows, who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. This is one of those poems that encompasses a philosophy that I always want to remember. And it's one that I go back to over and over and over. This life is a guest house. This human desire, this human response to avoidance, to want what is good and what is asked for, and our innate tendency to reject the things that we don't want, the sorrows, the malice, the shame, these parts of our human experience that we'd rather bury or forget or not address. And heartbreak is one of these. Heartbreak is one of the greatest teachers, if not the greatest teacher. And I've been thinking about this question for a week now. Do I know in my own experience, in my own life, a lesson more poignant and more memorable than heartbreak? I know not. So I do find heartbreak to be an incredible teacher. And oftentimes when something hurts, we want to turn away from it. Where if you look at heartbreak and if you break it down, it generally represents loss and generally change, and it always encompasses a feeling of fear. The fear is probably the most painful part, because you can't have heartbreak without having had your heart broken, right? So when we love, it's an opening. It's a complete opening up of ourselves, our heart, our dream, our lives to another person. And when we go through heartbreak, we have this tremendous urge to close back up again. And that loss of living open-hearted, that loss of living in vulnerability with trust, that loss of being seen by another person is what we mourn. And so we close up, and we get bitter, and we get angry, and we blame, which only makes us suffer more. So when you come across a fearful experience in your life and you're at a crossroads and you're afraid because you don't know the outcome, go into that fear. How does it feel in your body? What does it represent in your narrative? Because a lot of times the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we surround events in, that's our reality, but it's also our limitation, because we're only seeing what we've experienced and what we think, and a lot of times it's just a protective mechanism from the ego telling us these stories. Well, that person wronged me, so that we don't have to do our own work. We don't have to look inside and see what part we're accountable for. We don't have to be accountable if we blame, right? So this going into fear, this going in as a seeker, as a student, as somebody curious. What is this fear? Where does it exist in my body? How does it feel? How am I breathing when fear is present? And eventually you'll come to a point where you realize that this fear is a temporary, fleeting experience. And when you locate fear in your body and you're able to sit with it, that requires a tremendous amount of discipline and a tremendous amount of courage. And what I've found in my life is there's really nothing to be afraid of. So when we experience a heartbreak and we're gripped by this fear, if you can separate the fear from the loss, and you can realize that the fear is something that we've created, it's a manifestation in our own heads, and you look at the loss, you're looking backwards, you're looking at what happened, at what you had, because you really have lost nothing. Maybe you lost the companionship of another person, but you haven't lost the love. And I think that's the most important part of this message, if any of this resonates with you. When somebody comes into our life and we love them dearly, and when they leave, a lot of times we feel like they've taken that love with them, but they haven't. They have come into your life and given you the best gift anybody will ever give you, and that is love. The ability to understand, awaken, embody your own capacity to love. And that is something they'll never take from you. Nobody can take that from you. And so when we deal with heartache and we deal with the loss, if we continually look back and we look behind us at the past, at what happened, what could have been, what should have, what would have, we're not able to see what's going on in the present moment. And we're certainly not able to experience what's happening now. So if we think about Rumi's words, this clearing out, this making space for something new, sweeping your house empty of its furniture so that you're open and ready to receive the next chapter, the next person. And when we're hurt, we instinctively go into this need to close, this protective mechanism where I need to pull inward. And that only increases the pain. Because there's nothing in this life worth closing your heart over. Nothing. So when we're in the midst of a heartbreak and we're feeling this reactive need to close down, that is the lesson, right? That's the lesson from beyond. Love and that joyous feeling of being connected to another is an opening, it's an expanding. And that's something that we always have the capacity for. We always have that ability to choose to live with an open heart. So if you think of heartbreak and you think of it as temporary, you think of it as a momentary lesson. And that lesson is often best learned with kindness, with compassion, especially if you feel that you were responsible or you're the one that did the heartbreaking. There's a way out of it if you're able to be gentle with yourself. And if you were at fault, you did perpetrate some sort of betrayal, to learn that lesson and not repeat it. And to learn the consequences for you and for others. And you go forward and you do better. So that's my thought on heartbreak. The poem is The Guest House by Rumi. And that perspective of not fighting what is and not questioning what is, but welcoming what is. And that's all we can do. When we fight, when we resist, when we run, we only bring more suffering onto ourselves. So staying present in the moment, having a heart filled with loving kindness, seeing these lessons as a gift for our own learning, our own growth, and learning that lesson of living with an open heart and how powerful and intoxicating and compelling that love is, that connection, that open-heartedness, and knowing that you have that ability always to live that way always. So thank you, Connor, for the question. Thank you for the request. And I look forward to reading your stories. Have you had a heartbreak? Have you been transformed by a heartbreak? Have you experienced heartbreak as a victim? Have you been the heartbreaker? And what did you learn? I know the person that taught me the most precious gift was the gift of love. And that relationship ended, and it was a heartbreak that I had never experienced before. And even though the heart was broken, I couldn't unlearn that love. I couldn't ever go back to that pre-love state. And in lies the gift, right? The Japanese have they have a type of pottery, and I don't know the name of it. I'll think of it and I'll put it below the video so you can look it up. And when pottery breaks, they glue it back together and they fill the seams with gold. And the pottery is more beautiful having been broken. So let light shine on your broken heart. Be kind to yourself, to others. And remember that nothing is worth closing your heart over. Nothing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I don't really want to leave this beautiful, tranquil little stream. I am on just a tiny little fork on the Hood River. And it's beautiful. I love this place. So be well, love one another, live wholeheartedly, and I'll see you guys on the next video.